I'm looking at the internet and I'm noticing that statistics are the new religion. It used to be back in the day when I was growing up in a rural village cut off from the world, and knowledge would come from the priest. Like, you would go to the priest and he would have his own opinion. Obviously, sometimes he was right, sometimes he was wrong, but it's like, why is there a drought? Well, there's a drought because people need to pray more, and we have Ivan the drunk and his embarrassment to the entire village. We need to convince him, we need to help him to stop drinking because God is punishing us. I'm not kidding. It sounds weird, it sounds extreme, but that's how people used to think back in the day, right? They would go to the priest, and the priest would notice a systemic issue, the drought, and his interpretation was that people aren't pious enough. He would try to find out where the piousness requires to happen, and then they would pressure the village to change. Now, this is a human coping element, right? Because if you have a problem that's systemic, the drought, or in this case, lack of fertility, people try to find one reason that's easily identifiable, and then they get to feel morally justified that they're not part of the problem and that they can be part of the solution by pressuring people to stop doing what they're doing. And so it's a really good coping mechanism. It's evolutionary in nature. And it used to be religion, but now apparently it's statistics and polls, right? So what is the systemic problem now? It's low birth rates. Okay. I don't think personally that it's a existential crisis. I think it's an economic problem. And it's an economic problem because we have welfare, because we are locking kids in the academia from the age of sometimes like 3 or 4 all the way up until they're 25 years old, right? Like when can you expect to get a job as a young adult? After you finish university. And only after that, are you ready to marry and have kids. At least that's the mentality. Meanwhile, you have other nations out there that have teenage pregnancies. And unfortunately, the West is coveting that. Like, we need to become like them. Okay, but you need to change your entire culture then. Like, if you look at the history, right? You look at America in the 20s, or back when, they had a lot of kids. Like, yeah, teenage pregnancies. And I'm not saying, like, out of marriage. No. Like, shotgun weddings were a thing, right? And societies that still have that, statistically speaking, they have more children and high fertility rates. Societies that lock their kids in schools and universities, they end up with very low fertility rates. It's not rocket science. It is what it is. Like, the truth hurts. But I don't care about the fertility rates. All right? I'm just noticing the problem. People get upset. And so, like, no one wants to talk about the problem. Again, no one wants to talk about welfare. No one wants to talk about being at university until the age of 25. And so what they want to talk about is happiness for married men. Right. And you have a statistic here and an attack on Mr. Tate. Like, well, Andrew Tate is telling men not to marry. I'm telling men to marry. Right? Conflicting messages. My take is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Right? Like, the idea that society can be gamed by having a cheat code to life, and if you do this thing, you will have a good... No. I think the role of the family is important because the family actually knows the individual and talks to them. Some people are ready to be married, other people aren't. Depends on the woman you've met. Some women should be married with, other women absolutely not. Like, there is no one size fit all. Like, if you're unlucky and all the women in your life are the type that don't deserve to be married, right? Like, they're probably promiscuous, or they're very financial driven, like they're treating marriage like a financial transaction. That they're not looking at the relationship as a unity, right, between a man and a woman, that they're supposed to complete each other, but they're looking at it as men and women compete with each other, and what do you have to bring for me on the table, right? Like, if that's the mindset, no, don't marry them, obviously. And if you happen to be in a place where you're surrounded by women like that, like, telling a man to get married is ridiculous. Alternatively, right, if you actually do manage to find the keeper, and she's actually a wholesome woman, and she's doing everything okay, and yeah, you're supposed to marry her. Because if you don't, like, especially if she's a conservative lady and she's going to think that you're not serious, and she wants a relationship, she's going to find another guy, right? And so, like, there is no one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. Depends on many things. But I want to look at the statistics, right? Unhappiness for unmarried men on the rise. Like, even if the statistic is not incorrect, even if the statistic is proper, it's still misleading. Why is it misleading? Well, because most people will think unmarried man means an incel, right? Like, it's probably an 18-year-old guy that can't get a date, is unable to find a significant other, and he's unhappy. Or maybe he's a gym bro and he's got like a lot of dates, but he doesn't want to settle, and so he's unhappy. The reality is, when you think about it, unmarried men are also men that are divorced. Right? Do they have a reason to be unhappy? Absolutely. Especially if the law fucks them over. Like, the suicide rate is quite high in this demographic. Unmarried men can also be men that are socially awkward. Like, it's not that they have opportunities to marry or that they don't want to improve or anything. It's not like they're so socially awkward that they don't have any friends. They don't have male friends and they don't have female friends. Now society likes to blame this on video games, on porn, on various other factors. But what if it's genetic? Like, what if that person is genetically not fit for 2025 society? Like, they're just awkward. Their body language is off. Their brain runs a little bit slower. They don't have emotional intelligence. They don't know how to read a room. They don't know how to talk with people, right? You can take away all the factors away, and they would still be a potato. And those people are unhappy, right? What does this have to do with, like, a person that's a Chad in a gym pulling weights and being with, like, 10 other women? Is he unhappy? No, he's probably not unhappy. Right? Is that a good thing, what he is doing? No, it's not. But we're talking about his happiness, like his dopamine levels. Are the dopamine levels of a gym bro that has a harem high? Yes, they are. Okay, well, is the statistic trying to convince us that they're not? Yes, it is. All right. And that's where I wanted to come with this, right? Like, the whole statistics issue is like a modern religion. It's like science says, doctors say, and then you need to go to someone on the internet, right? Like, not your mom, not your dad, not someone you know, like someone on the internet, an influencer, to influence you into believing that this is how the cheat code works. And again, as I mentioned before, if you happen to have only bad women in your life and you listen to the influencer, you're fucked. Alternatively, if you have a decent woman in your life and you're missing the opportunity and the chance, and you're listening to the Andrew Tate influencer, you're also fucked on the long term. So the correct thing to do is to teach men what type of women are keepers and what type of women aren't, and then allow men to make their own decisions. Right? Like, they're adults. You don't need an influencer. There are warning signs. There's vibes. There's a lot of stuff. When you see a woman that you're obviously getting the feel that she's not interested in romance, she's interested in a business transaction. You don't marry that. Right? Just like for women, there are a lot of men that are giving you signals that they're not to be married. But these conversations themselves are toxic. Like, the moment you start saying that, well, there may be such a thing as a toxic woman, the internet freaks out. Well, it is what it is. Anyway, right, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in my live stream. There's a link to that into the pinned comment. Take care.